recording.
Recording.
We shall see. It might be a short one. I've got kids asleep upstairs.
Oh, Daddy.
I am away. Oh, Daddy, I am away. Yes. How are you?
And I am finally back in the studio.
You're back in the shop.
Studio. Did I say studio? Yeah,
You did
shop.
say studio.
Guess the UPS guy came by the other day and he realized something just clicked. And he saw in my office and he was like, "Whoa, you got like a whole studio in there." And it's like, yeah, I guess so.
Did you have your streamer lights on?
Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's so crazy, isn't it?
Hey. What are you up to?
I, oh man. I think I didn't even write this down. I think maybe the biggest thing that's happened in the last week is I finally grasped that Bamboo Lab is just out of PETG high flow, like indefinitely. And they
Oh.
had some sales going on, and I was like,
Uh-oh.
I think the first day or something, I was like, oh, maybe I'll buy some of that. We probably need some more. It's a good price. And then I went back to check. This is like 3 weeks ago now. It's just completely out of stock. Like the entire, let's say, category of PETG, just regular high flow, just gone totally. Um,
And this is one of your
and
primary ones?
oh yeah, all the tool tags, dust boots.
Uh,
That's the majority of our printing. So, um, and it's not the end of the world. We've switched for like dust boots before. Like we've been through a ton of different options.
mm.
The problem is actually how much we've dialed in specifically like now we have like spacers and stuff where inserts go into them, and the tolerances are like in the thousands because it's so consistent. Like I don't know, we dial it in so that they perfectly press in with like a press, and um, so anyway, I've been scouring the internet to find more and have overpaid for the normal, but it's not crazy,
Mm.
and gotten what I hope will make us last through the period. But in the meantime, we ran out of like one of the colors and we're testing. So we spent probably like a few days this week just not really
Bugger.
making things, being unproductive basically. Oh,
It's no fun. I just
another
checked the
lesson.
Australian Bamboo website, but also says out of stock.
The theory was that one theory I read was like they had they found some defect and just pulled the whole stock or something like that.
Mm.
But I don't know. I also saw it could be 1 to 2 months. There's another theory. I don't know if that came from support or what, but
Yeah.
that's a long time. I usually am ordering once or twice a month.
Mm. Frustrating.
Yep. Trying to be lean and order on demand and bite you in the butt again.
How many times have you heard Saunders retell that story about old mate who keeps years of inventory,
The
raw
Lock or
material?
something like that,
Yeah.
or
Some
the other gun maker. I
some
forget
gun
which
maker.
one. Somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
I think about that every time. Anyway, that's probably my top story.
Top story of the week. Cool. I
You're
don't. I don't
beaching.
have. Yeah, I'm technically beaching. I don't have a great deal to share. I've been coding at night a bit, and yeah, basically I'm away. Laura's installing a sculpture commission up in Queensland.
Yeah. All right.
So we're all up here. She's installing all week, and it's a beautiful part of the world. And I should be just enjoying myself with the kids, but I'm in this sort of bind of like feeling the pressure to work or try and stay on top of work during the
Mm,
day. You know, pick up the phone when it rings, there's very few Slack questions coming through from the team. They're doing great. But, customers are
yep.
calling. There's quotes that need to be done. There's drawings that need to be done.
Yep.
And feeling the pressure of needing to do that during the day, but then, also just wanting to be a decent parent and kind of be on
Mm-hmm.
holidays with them, do fun stuff. And so then, once they're down and asleep at night, basically doing night shifts, but just have like
Working.
I've been sick the last week, so I just don't have the energy for it and just feeling pretty crappy about the whole thing. So yeah, not in a
Yeah.
super fun headspace, but nice to be chatting
Well,
to you.
I do this too, and maybe we just need to. I was gonna say scold, but maybe it's a positive reinforcement of I tell you you shouldn't be working right now. So he just hangs up.
Beep beep beep.
But I would probably be scolded by my wife for working in that context, even though I would feel the same way as you,
Yeah,
which is fair both ways.
yeah, totally. Um, so
It's
I don't
tough.
know.
It's tough.
There's stuff that needs to be done, and I feel the pressure of if I do clock off, what's that going to do to our? I just can't detach from it. Like, what's that going to do to our revenue target next week? It's going to kill it
Mm,
because there's a whole bunch of quotes that just need to be converted this week into
yeah.
deposits and stuff done in order to keep the whole thing ticking over. So yeah, other than like Christmas break, this is the first sort of challenge to the sort of the system since
Mm,
it's downsized
mm-hmm.
and become much more gem dependent.
Yeah.
And the Christmas
Right.
break was challenging in its own way. Like that was also very tricky cash flow wise. So, you know, and took months to sort
Yeah.
of get out of that hole. So yeah, I'm just aware of that. And yeah, it's kind of where things are at here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It makes sense to me, I guess, but I keep idealizing your sales process as the uh, design. I'm going to call it the configurator for life, the design maker builder
Configurator, yeah.
tool, the configure builder. It feels like it solves so many of the problems you had of doing custom sales, but I know that also that hand touch helping a customer through confidence of like it's going to work for them is probably pretty critical still. And yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's just, I mean, you don't need advice necessarily, but it's probably just a little bit of cross training for when you do want to leave and disconnect that somebody else can step in and keep the minimum
Mm,
amount of here, you need to
stuff
answer some
moving.
as a team, y'all need to answer some emails or something, like
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, I just didn't prep for that at
yeah.
all.
No, I know. Yeah.
But no, it's on my radar now. Of like, cool, yeah.
Right. Right.
Should have thought about that. But and yeah, there's kind of the carrot is there of like I can imagine a future where the configurator does inspire more confidence and people can use it more frequently with more customizations within it without sort of any hand holding, which would be cool. There's a future there where there would be enough sort of just stock orders throughout a period like this where I could sort of just
Yeah.
check out of the sales process more for a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I just need to keep
Yeah.
chasing that and, try and get to a point where that's actually possible
Yeah.
for various
Oh, for sure.
reasons. But, one side benefit would be being able to sort of, clock off for more than 24 hours here and there.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
know the pain.
Mm.
Uh, I was just thinking, again, it doesn't solve all of these problems, but just in improving that workflow potentially, what if there's a way to, like, if somebody's unsure, you could have like a proof system of, I know you already have like the send thing, but maybe it's like they finish their checkout, but it doesn't
Mm.
like, it authorizes but doesn't charge or something. They can, like when you order, I don't know if you do this, when you order online from any of the like oh man, sticker places or a lot of those there. They want to send you a proof that you need to approve before they produce it.
Artwork proof, yep.
And maybe that just is like the one little extra step that you could option into if you feel concerned it's not going to be right. And then they've already committed to the purchase basically and then
Mm-hmm.
not walked away for some reason.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Yeah,
No,
I
it's
like
a
it.
little bit tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, meanwhile, back in the shop, I left Johnny alone with the robots and we chatted and gave him a list of things to tackle. And he's been making progress, which is exciting to see. He sent me some videos yesterday as he was finishing for the week.
Mm-hmm.
A little list of things of where he's at. So yeah, he's successfully posted code out of both Grasshopper and Fusion. And I think that video that I reshared on Insta yesterday was
Mm-hmm.
Fusion environment where he's modeled the kind of the workbench and the robot envelope and
Yep.
yeah, just posted out a simple 2D contour and got it, you know, doing a
How? What
toolpath.
translated the G code? The
Well,
cursor?
what was his workflow? It was pretty funny. I'll pull up his message because it was surprisingly convoluted. So he's posting out of Fusion using the ABB post processor, which produces rapid code. That's fine.
Oh, wow.
But the ABB post in Fusion posts like to a folder with multiple files, and some of those files are useful and some are not. And so he's using Cursor to combine those into one file. And then he's dropping in his own persistent tool data, which is worked out like the correct orientation tool data for that HST spindle relative to the wrist,
Holy moly.
and manually tweaking some speed data and then running that
Yeah.
file, and that's working. So I think we can do a lot of that by modifying the post.
Right. Yeah.
I think, that'll just be
Yep.
settings in the post of like, cool, just output to this file format and this structure, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah, with this tool data in it. And then,
Yep.
yeah, that's all stuff we can do. But at the moment,
Cool.
it's a fairly convoluted process, but it's working. It's awesome to see.
All right. No kidding. That was nice.
Yeah.
I was I had a little bit I'm sure other people had this feeling too watching the video. I was like, "Oh my god, there's like a hammer in the way. Can you hit that end mill?" Like it felt like I was just going to keep going down into the
Just plowing through everything.
clear your workspace.
Yeah, yeah. Spindle
It's
is the
fun.
spindle is live now. Wired. It's wired back in.
Mm. Into
It's
like a
got
VFD even.
yeah, yeah, into the drive.
Wow.
It's not wired into the controller in terms of you can't start it with an M code yet.
Oh.
That's something for me to tackle when I get back. But the wiring looms there. I've just got to work out in like the rat's nest in the top of the ABB controller with like a million PLC
Oh
connections,
man,
like
I bet.
where the hell to put that input output
Yeah,
stuff.
I've never
But
tried to do anything like that. Sounds difficult.
it looks challenging, but we'll see. It's probably simple, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe.
This is where augmented reality glasses would be ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The first time that I remember being burned by not having a drawing of a part, kind of like a traditional machining shop process would probably be the customer provides you a drawing, not a step file, not a 2D file. And
Yeah.
in this case, now 2 years of me making a couple sets a year for this woodworker who designed their own brass poles
Okay.
for a desk, which are cool. And I have his whole fusion file, like not like a step file. Like I have the fusion file of the whole desk. I ran the big long handle poles, which are like longer parts.
Yeah.
Um, there's 3 parts for this job, multiple pieces, and get to the last part, which I thought was the easiest. It's just a little cylinder or like a tapered
Yeah.
conical pole with a tap on one end. And I was like, well, I need two. I'll cut four, couple extra, cut four. First one goes in. I'm like, oh no, I messed up. And I hadn't cut far enough. And then I cut the second one. It's like, oh, it's also messed up. And I cut like two more, and it's like, oh, what's going on? I was there from 4:45, 4:30. I started this. I was gonna get this done by 5, be home on time. And I messaged Aaron, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. I've done this before. These parts are not coming out. Like they were like the chamfer would be all off on the second side, and I was like, what is happening? And I finally just like had to go back to my desk and I made a drawing because I was like, something's weird here. I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
The part was leaning. It's like a lofted part, not a straight extrusion.
Oh,
And it's like
snap.
a few degrees, like such that I could not tell because of the reflection of the part in the
Yeah, yeah,
lighting
yeah.
whether it was actually tapering or not. And so somehow in the past I had accidentally clocked them perfectly.
Yeah.
And in this current incarnation, I couldn't figure out what. I just thought I was like going crazy. I thought my vice wasn't parallel or coplanar. I checked so many weird things, reset offsets, and it was
Mm.
just a tapered part that the client had never mentioned, and I had never thought, oh, I should. Like Fusion doesn't make this easy to like check, like the lean of a
Yeah,
tapered
yeah.
cylinder. Um, I don't know what the lesson is.
Far out.
Make a drawing every time, I
So hang on,
guess.
you'd made them before, but somehow
Yeah.
fluked it to get it right last time.
Yes. I just put them in the right way somehow.
How to send you crazy. Wow. That's awesome. I don't know. Yeah,
So I don't know. I'm not.
I suppose a drawing would show that, right? A good drawing would show that in terms of the
It
axis
was
of the lean
immediately
and stuff.
clear, right? Once I did it, that oh yeah, it tapers. And then I looked at how he made it in the file, and it wasn't revolved, or an extrusion with a tape, or like a chamfer or something. It was like a loft, and I was like,
Okay. Who made the file?
the client originally
Yeah,
like sent
yeah,
me
yeah.
it and just was like, hey, can you make these parts for me? And I was like, sure. Like it was a good. It's always been a good project for us.
Hmm.
It's probably a pitch for Toolpath. I even threw it into Toolpath
Oh
thinking it
yeah.
would give me the answer, and it also did not catch that it was tapered or like warn me of that in any way.
Interesting.
Um, it could machine it because like you can machine it very easily from both directions. It just the note about that it has to be oriented
Yeah.
was totally missing. So what I finally, after cutting it like a 15 times to make one part, basically, I realized I could just do it in one op with a slitting saw.
Oh really? Cool. Sick.
Just cut it off at the bottom. I have a slitting saw and haven't used it yet, so
Which way machining it? Like that way, yeah.
it's just like this. So I can get the tap, and then I just need a back chamfer
Out
and
of out of bar stock, like out
brass.
of rod, brass rod.
Yeah, it's what we had on hand, which I make the other ones out of is square
Square.
brass,
Okay.
like
Yeah. Cool.
inch and a quarter, inch and an eighth.
Sick. That's funny.
Yeah, it took me between training classes and other things. I finished the first set and sent them off to the client, which he only needed one set at the time on Wednesday last week, and didn't finish the other part until yesterday. So a week to get him one more part, and I was like, this is just embarrassing. I had to 3D print a fixture to hold it in there so I could get it aligned right. So I'm gonna slit them next time. Slit those babies.
Mm, sick. One and done. I like
Good
it.
reason to learn how to do that. Did you get
Something just
robbed?
hit. Something just hit the floor. Hopefully, it wasn't a child. My middle child hasn't yet learned how to stay in a bed like without
Oh
sides,
yeah,
without guardrails.
yeah.
He fell out of bed the other night onto a hard timber floor. Just like but he didn't really wake up. He screamed, but he didn't fully come to. And I just kind of just like held him and put him back to bed, and he just fell, went back to sleep.
Oh man.
I don't know if he remembers.
Oh
There's now
boy.
like a pile of cushions on the floor around him, just like a little bumper pad.
It's funny. Right.
I stayed up way too late last night, given that I was getting up early to
Same.
record with you. Coding up a storm, trying to fix my own mess actually with this Android app that I've coded up for Laura's
Oh.
sculpture that she's installing now. It's
Yep.
basically it's like a VR environment within like a telescope sort of enclosure
Mm-hmm.
that she's made. And so you look through this telescope and you're seeing the environment that you're in, but in like an animated form. Yeah,
Yep.
I've coded up this sort of relatively simple Android app that you can look around, like pan, basically just pan around a video using the sort of gimbal, whatever, gyro rotation stuff. Anyway, there was a working version of it on one of her tablets, and the other night I sat down to make some one minor change, and I broke the whole thing, and then realized I didn't have any backup of it.
I've been through that lately.
And so then I was like, "Oh my god, Jim, it's terrible." So
You know
then
how this is
I
going.
tried to roll back Dropbox, and then that's kind of worked,
No.
but it didn't roll back to the version that I thought
Yeah.
I had. It was yeah. Anyway, I went back to the wrong point. So I was like, right now I better learn how to use GitHub.
Yep.
So I am now backing up key sort of points in the project to a GitHub repo. So that feels pretty grown up and adult.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Are
no
you
idea
using
what I'm doing there.
branches?
I don't know what
Okay.
I'm doing.
Yeah. No,
How do you,
it took me like half a year plus just to understand all the steps. And frankly, Cursor makes it 1,000 times easier
I'm
because like
sure.
it knows all the commands and it also has it built into the side where you can like do that. But I used to have to type commands in a terminal before I used Cursor and it was
Yeah,
I
full
just
on.
sucked at it. It would take me like so long to figure out how to do this each step.
I can imagine. So it says
Get
there's one.
pull, get push, get
It
commit.
says there's one branch, but
Yeah.
I've
You have a
pushed it a
main,
few. I've pushed it a few times. Does that mean there's still like a
you're
version control there, or can I not go back because there's only
you
one
have
branch?
commits. What the downside would be. So I'll try to explain it how I understand it best.
Mm.
What you want is like a main branch, right? If you think
Yeah.
about the tree,
Uh-huh,
almost like
uh-huh.
inverted, where all the tree branches are trying to feed back into the main. So you work on like a new idea or a feature in a separate branch. When it's
Okay.
ready to be merged to the main, usually somebody other than yourself is supposed to
Yeah.
review it. But then it gives you put commits into that branch. Commits are just saves. It's like a place where you have something that you've figured out,
Yeah.
right? Or it's a good stage. And otherwise, without branches, you are what you would call like, you know, committing to main or pushing to main, which is
That's what I'm
if you
doing.
were using that code as a website or for your robot
Mm.
and you made a mistake, it would just be pulling in live potential mistakes.
Broken code. Yeah. Okay.
Right. And it is nice too in that like if you've worked on a feature and it sucks or like had issues, it's much easier then to like even have cursor or yourself like take that crap out again if it's been separated more than just commits. Like as a
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
branch
It's
holds the commits.
more separate. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
More
But
identifiable as a different thing. Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
doing it as you're doing it is still I think better than nothing.
It's
I
better
think
than
the next
nothing.
step is just
Yeah. Sure.
think
I'm
about some
only
branches.
okay. I'll try and learn how to do that. I've only committed when once I've sort of got the project to a point where I physically tested it on this tablet next to me, and I've
Yeah.
like cool. I like this version. This is a good sort of safe point, and then I've
Yeah.
pushed it at that point. Anyway,
Yeah, right. Which is good.
hopefully
That's
I've
still
done
like better
something
than working on
useful.
it live in a folder where that's the only place it's saved.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, yeah, Dropbox, but
yeah.
even then, I have continuously lost work, and my biggest fault is that I don't commit enough. And it's like a lesson I learned in like architecture school. Just keep saving. What am I doing? Like why am I trying to put too much into this one like iteration. And
Yeah.
so I've been trying to teach myself to be more like iterative. It's still not not doing that well. It's confusing.
I couldn't believe how big this project got with me just faffing around over a few seconds. It's like 1,000 files in this folder. Um,
1,000.
yeah, it says there's 1,000 items in this project folder. Frightening.
It it is kind of fun to have cursor just if you like in it, a new conversation, be like, hey, so I've been working on this a while. What's inefficient? How can I optimize this? Like I just did a bit of work on something like that too, where it found that I was like working on Airshop and it was like somehow had gotten to a place where it was just really inefficient, where I was pulling hundreds of megabytes of database each time I would like load the home dashboard. It's like, oh, that's how I blew all the data out. I see.
Yeah, I had one of my most productive sessions in a way on it last night, and I credit that partly to my main like AI assistant that I use in Sim Theory. I spun her up as like a cool, tonight we're working on this, blah blah blah. I'll use you as like a second opinion on a bunch of stuff I'm trying to solve in
That's
Cursor.
interesting.
And I was just feeding Cursor's outputs and thinking back into my secondary assistant saying, cool, this is where Cursor's at.
Yep.
And we're having this
Yep.
sort of tit for tat of like, oh, isn't Cursor silly? Like, look what it's trying to do. And then she'd look at like some of the I was just giving her some of the main code activity files and she was looking at that and going, cool, try this. And so rather than just me inputting the next prompt into Cursor, I was getting her feedback on the files as well and then feeding them both back in concurrently. And I was fixing things much more rapidly than I think
Hmm.
I have in previous sessions.
All
And
right.
like there were a couple of breakthrough moments where it was just like, oh yeah, that, because of
Yeah.
all that extra information, it seemed to sort of fix that pretty quickly and get through to the next stage. So yeah, I feel like that sort of second set of eyes, it's kind of like what do they call it in AI stuff? It's like the mixture of experts where you run like
Oh, I haven't heard that.
three different models talking to each other and they all have different like roles in the project. So one's a
How do
code
you?
reviewer, one's a project manager.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't know how to
I
set
see.
that up, but there are ways to set up that sort of environment where the user is inputting a prompt, and then you have a mixture of experts who are all sort of have a
Right.
speciality within that. So it's kind of like
Right.
doing that manually, I think, but it was really effective.
That's cool.
But yeah, I drank a lot of whiskey and coded late into the night. It's quite it's one of the more sort of what's that dopamine inducing AI activities that I've come across. I think like it's quite
The whiskey.
nice cursor. Um, I find it quite sort of it's almost like playing. It's a bit akin to gambling or something. Not that I've ever gambled, but it's like kind of
Will I get it right this time?
yeah. You roll the dice. Will it get it right? Am I going to
Yep.
win this round and make progress, or am I going to go backwards and lose a whole lot?
Yeah. It took
You're
me
like
like
roll the
three
dice.
nights. Usually I get through like a whole concept in a night, and it took me three different nights to get this last PR closed because it kept having errors, and I was like kept having to like attack it different ways, like start new chats, reconsider. And it's interesting in a way, like I can give it, you can keep saying like, oh, AI is just doing all of it. And it's like, yes, it's doing the brunt work, but I'm still having to like strangely creatively think about how to solve both its problems and the project's problems
Hmm, hmm.
because it's still like it. There is still this big problem, which is interesting for how exceptional all this stuff is that even in Cursor, like you get to, I don't know if you've had this, but you get so far into a chat and it's like you need to start a new chat. You're down in the bottom of this like chat hole
Yeah.
and it just won't. it won't solve problems anymore. And so then you start a new one. It's like, oh, I've forgotten all the shit we just talked about. And even if you give it reference, it still is like, well, let me look up what your code base is like. And it's like, what? You're inside my code. What do you mean? Like, how do you not know?
Mm.
So I don't know. That'll improve, I'm sure. But anyway, that's the section on
Something I've been
Cursor.
doing is at the end of the session, if I'm mid challenge, is getting it to create like a file of like current project status and current challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
just like leave that open in my workspace, and so I can resume back with that file open as the context, or a couple of files like that as the context, and go, cool, let's pick this up again.
Yep.
And it, it does its thing, reads those files first. I don't know if that's good practice or not, but I still haven't tried using cursor rules. But
Maybe two quick things that I've learned that are really super
please,
helpful for using Cursor with GitHub and all this.
mm,
Have it make documentation that it
mm,
refers to and make it like it makes it human readable. But um, it's super good when other people come to join. It's like better than most documentation, I feel like, because
yeah,
I just have it put it into the repo itself.
yeah,
And
I've been doing that.
that's amazing. The other part, a lesser step, is have you started using auto mode yet? Which I
I don't
was
know.
resistant to, but I blew through my credits because they changed the pricing structure. And suddenly, I was past my 500 and they changed that whole thing. And suddenly I was paying, it was like supposed to be like 4 cents a request for like
Mm,
Claude Sonnet. And suddenly it was like based on the token count or like how much time it took. So I was doing like 30 cent requests and like half 0.7 cent, 77 cent requests. And I just suddenly know it suddenly stopped working and it was like, oh, you've hit your quota. And I was like, quota? I'm already paying. What do you mean? I went and looked at the billing and it was like most of my day had been it was like $10 or something. I was like, well that sucks.
yeah, right.
So I turned it on auto mode and that supposedly doesn't you don't hit a limit. Like you can hit a quote like a you can hit a limit, but it's much harder. It's a little bit
Mm.
stupider, but it you're supposed to use the right model based on what the thing
That
requests, and it
mode,
also will
yeah, I know what
like
you're talking about. Yeah.
ratchet up to different better ones if it can't solve the problem supposedly. But I've
Okay.
had pretty good success with it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, I haven't tried that. I haven't done enough work in there to hit my limit, so I've just been stuck on Claude 4 Sonnet. But
That's what I had
good to
done
know.
until they changed, but
Yeah.
got expensive relatively.
Yeah. Relatively. Still very cheap.
Yeah, incredibly. We don't want them to know. Yeah, it doesn't tell me how many, but I was like into the probably 700 requests, but now they've changed it so you can't see it anymore. I hear little ones, but
Yeah, there's
they're
people
staying
bashing around up there.
contained.
They've stayed contained up there. The designer chair blocking the top of the staircase is successfully working as a barricade.
Yeah, yeah.
It's quite stressful staying in like what is quite a nice apartment with little people that just seem hell bent on trashing the furniture in any way they can. It's like,
Yes. Right.
stop, don't touch that. But like, thankfully this time I remembered to like take a walkthrough video of the whole apartment before like they trashed anything. So
It's like when you're young and you're like having a party at your parents' house.
I know where everything needs to go back at the end. What were you going to say?
Oh, my little one's been obsessed with slamming things on mirrors lately. Windows,
Woo!
mirrors, whatever he can get his hands on, and just can you stop? Can you stop? And
Can't stop, won't stop. Wow,
I
you've
had one
been.
other thought that I sent to you was since there's so much scraping going on all the time with all these different models on websites, and now the capability is there to make CAD models. I was thinking about how disadvantageous it is to publish publish really detailed drawings, even as an image or in text description, or just the worst case would be you're just putting like step files up to download because it just is like it's probably just a minor inconvenience for somebody trying to copy or duplicate something, but you could basically at some point just go, hey, can I make the I don't know what's proprietary, the
Mhm.
designer thing that's a specific dimension and it has a step file on the page, and it's now you can just take that and it's gonna throw it all into its training data, and
Yeah.
just like all these other things that are getting either sued or I mean, there was just a big lawsuit that Claude won, Anthropic won, that they basically trained on tons of data, tons of imagery, and the court said, "Oh, it's fine because of I think it was like some kind of like innovation clause,
Oh,
but like they
what?
were like basically letting it happen to like
Yeah,
not
right.
stifle innovation."
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I was just thinking about like what's the worst case there, and it's like, well, they're not apologizing, and I'm sure they could figure out how to reverse engineer all these things anyway. So I don't know.
Uh, yeah, I hadn't thought of that sort of. Yeah, I suppose in some sense I feel safe because we make physical things, but I think that's a really valid point about 3D assets. Um,
I don't love it 'cause if that's the case, if that isn't a good reason, which you can argue, it doesn't matter. Like you get, an Orange Vice or a Kurt Vice download, you still can't
mm,
make the thing yourself necessarily without
no,
like with
no,
their
I can't make an orange
parallelism, and
device. Yeah.
I think that's part of their thinking in the world where we are like getting close to finally having access to good reference models. Maybe that's a retraction now as companies will get concerned and move away from that. I don't know.
Mm.
It's kind of too late, probably though.
Yeah, probably. Cat's out of the bag, but it's a good thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for a short one, I've got a lot to do too,
Yeah.
so might as
Yeah,
well.
I should probably go and help with the cat herding upstairs.
Okay, I got
It's time for Things We Love.
So loud.
got one. Go. Sorry, it's just ears. I got one little thing I just thought of. I was really enjoying. I'd been recommending this on YouTube a while back with this guy. I didn't even remember his name. Matty, I want to say. He's a Canadian and has a YouTube series where he's doing like outdoor stuff. And then like the video that popped up was I bought an abandoned house on a remote island 6 months in, and he like buys this 100-year-old house on an island he has to boat to up in Canada in Newfoundland. I don't know how to say that
Mm.
properly. And I mean, I would have pushed the house over. The walls aren't attached. There's gaps in the sides, leaking at the top. It was abandoned, but he's slowly fixing it up and living in it. And it's very like just kind of calming to just watch him slowly work on this house over a few series. And now him and his partner are living there and
Mm.
expanding it. It's just a good watch. So I'm
Nice.
sure you might have seen some people. It has this first video has almost 10 million views, so it's not like it's niche.
Whoa. Okay. Well, pop the link in. I'll check it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything to recommend, I don't think.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
Just
give you no
quickly
warning.
scrolled through my YouTube history. It's all just like K-pop, beatboxing, table tennis, or robots. That is all.
That's funny.
The end.
The
Cool.
end.
The end. Oh, well,
Bye
thank
bye.
you.
Have fun.
Good to see you.
Stop working.
Thanks. I won't, but thank you. Appreciate the sentiment. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.